Hello, I'm Vanessa Hill. I'm a nurse practitioner at the University of Alabama in Birmingham, and I have been in rheumatology for the last 20 years, the first four of which I served as a clinical research nurse coordinator. The remaining 16 years I have been in clinic treating patients with autoimmune diseases. And we are going to talk about health maintenance in the rheumatology clinic. I know some of you may wonder why we need to talk about health maintenance in the rheumatology clinic, but it is very important in the rheumatology setting because we are dealing with patients who have chronic illness. And I believe that in the setting of patients who have chronic illness, health maintenance is even that much more important. One of the first things I want to talk about is vaccinations. When it comes to treating our patients who have autoimmune diseases, vaccinations are very important. Unfortunately, all patients are not going to be willing to have the vaccines that may be required. And in that case, you just need to be prepared to educate them on the risk of not being vaccinated, as well as the benefits of being vaccinated. And they also need to understand that not being vaccinated may alter the treatment choices that we have to offer them. So the second thing we're going to talk about is cancer screenings. Of course, the usual mammogram, pap smears, colonoscopies, chest x-rays, PSAs for men. I discuss those things with my patients in the clinic for a couple of reasons. One reason is because we do want to make sure that our patients are caring for all aspects of their health care, but also because some of the diseases that we treat and some of the medications that we use may also increase their risk of malignancy. And we want our patients to be aware of which cancer screenings that should be completed, not only for their age, but for treatment and considering their autoimmune diseases as well. And be sure that you discuss their family history of cancer when you're discussing their cancer screenings. The next thing I want to talk about is dental care. Our patients, it's important for all patients to have routine dental care. A lot of our patients, though, may have dry mouth associated with their disease process or maybe even medications. Those patients need to have dental cleanings every 3 months rather than every 6 months, and they may need to be monitored a little bit more closely for dental caries. The other thing to consider is our patients who have poor dentition are at risk for infection. And we know that when we're treating our patients for autoimmune diseases, many times the medications that we use may put them at even higher risk for infection. So it's even that much more important that our patients have good dental health. The next thing I want to talk about, and this is a little bit outside of health maintenance, but at the same time, it's very important for all of our patients and to consider the comorbid conditions that we may be dealing with. Sleep apnea is one of the first things that comes to mind, as well as obesity. And then we have diabetes, depression, and all of these things can go hand in hand and play a role in how these patients feel. So for the most part, sleep apnea and even obesity can contribute to their fatigue, of course, decreased sleep efficacy, and also contribute overall to how they feel and how much pain that they are experiencing, not only in their joints, but their muscles as well. Diabetic patients may also feel more fatigued than our general population. And then, of course, when you put depression in the mix, that adds a little bit more complications to treating our patients. When you think about our patients who have chronic illness, many of them suffer, at least to some degree, with depression just because they are dealing with a chronic illness. And it's important to understand that if our patients are depressed and they're not being properly treated, it may affect how they feel, but it may also affect how they manage their health care, not only the disease process that we are treating, but the remainder of their health as well. And then osteoporosis is another condition that we need to consider. And to me, the most complicated part of managing osteoporosis is who's going to manage the osteoporosis. Many times our patients are screened or are managed. Routine DEXA scans may be performed by their primary care provider. and then our female patients may be managed by their gynecologist. And then, of course, we have our patients in rheumatology clinic. And many times I try to make sure that it's being managed by one of their other providers, but it can slip through the cracks sometimes. Also, the biggest point I want to make about treating our patients and their comorbid conditions is that it can really affect how we are assessing their response to treatment, or maybe how the patient is perceiving their response to treatment. Many times, patients will expect for so many of their symptoms to improve when we start them on a DMARD or when we change a DMARD. So it's important to really talk to our patients and understand what their comorbid conditions are and what types of symptoms those comorbid conditions can cause, especially for instance, talking about a lupus patient. Many of our lupus patients do have fatigue, but if they also have sleep apnea that may be not treated at all or undertreated, or depression, the obesity, all of these things can play a part in their fatigue. So if they're expecting their fatigue to improve greatly when we start them on medication and it doesn't improve, they may actually contribute that to inefficacy of the medication itself. So I do think it's very important to have a long discussion with your patients about their comorbid conditions and how those conditions can actually affect how they feel and how they perceive their autoimmune disease, how well it's responding to the treatment. So a few things I like to do in my office that really seems to help me a lot. I was just going to give a few helpful hints on trying to help these patients manage their either comorbid conditions or help encourage them to maintain just their health maintenance throughout the year. I keep vaccine. Okay. I print vaccine recommendations and have them on hand for quick reference. I also print off cancer screening guidelines. Sometimes patients may want to have those in hand. And I also try to make sure I do that fairly often so that everything is up to date as far as the recommendations are concerned. As far as dental care goes, again, encourage regular cleanings. And then, of course, sometimes our patients may not have access to dental care. We may have to refer them to social services. I have even gone online before while my patient was in the clinic and Googled dental services, just trying to do anything I can do to help the patient. As far as obesity is concerned, I try to keep pamphlets on hand for quick references for things such as intermittent fasting or low carbohydrate diet. Just whatever you prefer and what suits the patient. But many times I have patients ask me about weight loss. And so it's very handy to have something just sitting there in the clinic exam room itself. And I can just reach over and grab it and hand it to the patient and then have a discussion about that as well. Of course, exercise as well. And I don't know if this is true everywhere, but in Alabama, there's YMCA. It's a large facility where patients or where anybody can go. They join the gym and they can work out. Sometimes they have an indoor pool, but a lot of times places like this will give a discount to patients to join, give a discount on their membership for these patients to join if they have a prescription that says exercise is medicine. So that has been helpful for some patients as well. Then we have the sleep apnea. I have facilitated the diagnosis of sleep apnea in a lot of my patients. And unfortunately, patients will suffer for years with sleep apnea and not sure if they're not having a conversation with their primary care provider or if they're just ignoring their symptoms. But I will spend an adequate amount of time with patients if I suspect they may have sleep apnea and get them referred over. And then, of course, you have to explain to them why it's important to treat the sleep apnea, all the signs and symptoms that can be caused from untreated sleep apnea and how it can affect their overall health. And then as far as diabetes is concerned, I do quite frequently we'll check an A1C on patients. It kind of depends on the situation, depends on if they have a good primary care provider that they're seeing on a regular basis. But many times I'm finding these days that most of our patients don't have a regular primary care provider. A lot of patients end up going to an urgent care or walk-in clinic just for their basic needs or when they get sick. And I have found several occasions where patients have diabetes and no one was aware at the time. And of course, it's very important for us to know if our patients have diabetes or not, because you know, unfortunately, we do still have to use steroids to treat our patients, and we definitely need to know if they have diabetes or not. Smoking and vaping. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. Our patients who smoke, unfortunately, they're spending resources, their money on cigarettes, and many times they can't afford their medication. So I really, I really discuss smoking with every patient at every visit. I'm pretty sure some of my patients have quit smoking because they got tired of listening to me, but that's okay. Another point I want to make about that is vaping. Um, we all know that smoking can increase disease activity, vaping can as well. But just to make a point of that, I had a patient come in. She'd been a long time smoker, very active RA. I begged her to quit smoking. She came back to the next appointment. She had quit smoking. I was excited about that, but her joints, the disease activity was probably double what it had been. And I was very confused about that. I didn't understand. She'd quit smoking. I would have expected for things to at least gradually have gotten a little bit better. Come to find out she was vaping instead. And so it seems that may have even made her situation even worse. There's a good resource for your patients who use tobacco products. It's 1-800-QUIT-NOW. It's a program through the CDC. So the 1-800-QUIT-NOW is the actual phone number that you can give the patients and they can call and speak to someone. You can also go to cdc.gov /tobacco, I believe, and you can find information there as well. They offer counseling, referrals for local programs, as well as provide free medications to people who are wanting to quit using tobacco products. So, in closing, I just want to say that we all understand that health maintenance is very important. I think the problem sometimes is that we aren't sure if the patient is established with a primary care provider who is making sure that their health maintenance is done appropriately. So many times in a rheumatology clinic, we may need to do the things that we feel are really primary care related, such as ordering the mammogram, order the PSA, order the A1C, whatever it is that we need to do to make sure that our patients are really being cared for appropriately. So thank you very much for joining us, and I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.